Hi everybody, I'm Rutledge.
And I'm Steven.
And we're here again, and we're back, and you're here for another week of Friends Stream Sports, but as you can see in here, Connor's not here, but my good buddy of all time, Steven, is here. Steven, tell our viewers about you. How did we meet?
So we met at Georgia Southern University way back in the day. We joined this fraternity together. We were roommates for a while, and one of my good friends for a long time. He was at my wedding.
Yeah, it wasn't your wedding. I do remember that.
It was great.
It was great. Saw you get married, and some would say that we were inseparable.
Oh yeah, pretty much attached to the hip.
And then we got married, and we became separable, very separable.
You had to move to the happiest place in the world.
Yes. I live in the Central Florida area. Steven lives in the South Georgia area. But luckily, my town's way cool to visit. And Steven still lives near Georgia Southern.
That's right.
So speaking of Georgia Southern, Steven, and you're in Georgia and I'm not. But what's it like in Georgia right now? You know, the Braves got all the way to the championship series. Falcons are a mess, and UGA just lost to Bama. How is the state of Georgia sports?
I don't know what it is about Georgia sports. It's just we can never seem to finish the game. And it's not that we have bad teams. Like we got good teams. Like you said, the Braves made it to the NLCS and choked a 3-1 lead to the Dodgers. I mean, we have good teams. You know the whole story about the Falcons blowing the 25-point lead to the Patriots. You know, it seemed I think the official soft drink of Georgia sports is Coca-Cola.
I haven't heard that since I moved. Well, it's a tough time, but I know one of our favorite sports to always talk is football, so I'm going to push ready, you push ready. Let's go ahead and dive into this game of Madden tonight, Steven. We're going to be featuring one of the big games this week. Of course, there's two undefeated teams that are getting ready to face off. You have the Tennessee Titans, who had a bit of a COVID scare, and then you had the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are both undefeated. Steven, are any of these teams your favorite sports team in football?
No.
No.
Negative. I do not like these teams.
Who's your favorite team then?
Let's see. So being in Georgia, I kind of have to say Falcons. I root for them quite a bit. But at the core of my soul, deep down, I am a Cowboys fan at heart.
Okay. And the Cowboys or something. All right. Well, make sure you push X on the ready screen on your end so we can dive in. I want to take us into our very first segment that we have as we're loading here for a minute for some reason. Are you good to go on your end?
Yeah.
You're loading. I'm loading. This is the first. So we're going to vamp. Okay, so you're a Cowboys fan, right?
Yeah.
Ready. You have the football spinning on your screen?
I do not see a football spinning.
For ready?
What am I doing here?
I don't know. Uh-oh. This is where we break the show.
Oh.
Ready.
Oh. Sorry.
Oh, God.
New guy.
It's okay.
New guy.
New show, who this? Right? Hopefully, I don't think Connor's tuned in yet, so he didn't see that. Hopefully, he doesn't catch it on the YouTube up forever. Okay, so we're back into it. So, Steven, you're a Cowboys fan. Why are you a Cowboys fan? Like, you never told me this as in our friendship. I just knew you were a Cowboys fan. We never talked about why.
It's kind of a lame story, actually. When I was playing rec football, I was probably 10, 11 years old. My team was the Cowboys. And that's pretty much it. It was my first introduction into football was playing on the Cowboys for the rec league. And then, I'd go home on Sundays and turn them on. And that was back in the 90s, so they were actually good then, so it was fun to watch them.
Yeah. Now all you do is hear about the Cowboys on like Sports Center and stuff.
Yeah.
So Dak Prescott's hurt. Running back's not producing Ezekiel Elliott's not producing as much as he used to anymore.
always something.
Seems like a really good reason that Amari Cooper was traded because he's just mediocre. How do you feel about Andy Dalton leading the way?
I'm hopeful. I think he'll do some good things there. I don't think he's going to be the franchise quarterback we need for long term.
Which is so crazy because he was such a good college quarterback. I mean, he took TCU, if we all forget, won the Rose Bowl with Andy Dalton back in the day.
I didn't even know he went to TCU.
Yeah, he was Texas Christian. They won the Rose Bowl. I don't remember who they beat. They did something really cool. So they have it's like TCU and the Horned Frog on their helmet. For the Rose Bowl, they put the Horned Frog was like holding a rose, and that was something that they did for that game. So that was Andy Dalton and everything. And then, Cleveland with him was Cincinnati with him was okay for a while, but that team's always kind of struggled to build a good team.
Yeah.
So, as a Cowboys fan, one of our big first half topics here at French Stream Sports is we always do something called State of the Shield. And this is where we go through and we kind of just talk about a section of the NFL, something kind of up in the ranks, something kind of out there. Last week we went through all the sort of bad teams and ranked them about where we thought they were at. These are teams that had won one game or less. And I will tell you, Steven, most of those teams from that conversation came out of your Cowboys' conference of the NFC least out in the East. At this very moment in time, the records in the NFC East are Dallas is leading the way at 2-4, Philly is 1-4-1, and New York and Washington are 1-5. So, what's your take on the NFC East? I mean, how does that feel to have your team be in such a horrible division and still struggling?
I'm kind of numb to it at this point, being a Dallas fan for so long. But I've never seen an entire division just that awful.
Right. And it's crazy because... Go ahead.
I was going to say there's a potential for a 2 or 3 win team to lead the division, 6 or 7 weeks into the season.
Right. I mean, wouldn't that be wild if Dallas lost again this week, Philly won, and they were tied with 2 wins each. I will say though, as a division, keep your head up. If we all remember, one of Marshawn Lynch's greatest plays of all time was his Beastquake, and that was when they beat the Saints at home. And during that game, Marshawn Lynch and his Seattle Seahawks were ripped all over SportsCenter because they won the division at 7-9 and hosted a home playoff game, and everyone thought it was horrible for a team like Seattle to host a home playoff game in that situation. So there is still hope for the playoffs, Steven. Andy Dalton could take you to the playoff promised land because everyone else is horrible.
Yeah, somebody's going to need an easy first round win.
Someone somewhere is going to you're going to be like the 4 seed and you're going to lose. Yeah. Who do you think will be the 2 wild card teams in the playoff this year? In the NFC side.
I don't know. I don't really follow NFL quite as much as I used to anymore.
Yeah.
Like I said a few minutes ago, it's just kind of being numb to
Sure.
losing so much. It's not all that fun to watch.
No, and this year's been kind of weird in the NFL world is that, there's no preseason, I think, and this year has really shown that NFL, even though we all kind of talk about, we don't need preseason, they're boring, give me the games. If you haven't seen, you've gotten teams that are good and the teams that are bad, like everyone in the NFC East, they could have benefited from a preseason, but the fact they didn't have a preseason is really hurting all of them.
On the flip side of that coin, though, even these so-called good teams haven't... They haven't really even played anybody worth mentioning, honestly.
No.
I think the Steelers have played 2 of the NFC East teams. So that's 2 of their 5 wins right there pretty easily.
Yep. We are blowing up in the comment section. All in all. Yeah, we have tons of different comments going live on stream, so we want to say thank you to everyone that came in to watch us live, is dropping those comments. For those that aren't aware of us not watching us live, we're every night live on Twitch at 8 p.m. We are also online, hanging out on YouTube 7 days a week. So yeah, there's just something, I'm with you, because I was looking at, Connor and I did talk about a lot of different teams, and we actually talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and like you said, they've only beaten a couple certain teams, so it can't even count that they've done anything, or they've really gone anywhere. But that's kind of been the strange dichotomy this year, is normally we don't say the phrase, they haven't played anyone in the NFL. That's a college football phrase. Like,
Yeah.
think back, now that college football is playing all these, and we'll talk college football in the second half, now that college football is playing all these games that are, you know, conference only, we just sort of look at who's beating who and what's happening where, but we haven't sat there and said things like, oh, well, you know, Alabama hasn't played anybody. They've played the Citadel again, so that's why they're rough. But in the NFL, we're saying that this year. Like, they've had the NFC East too many times.
Exactly.
Or Chicago. Go ahead.
So that's what I was going to say. Is like, it's not often that you get whole divisions that are just awful like this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's multiple. There's I forget which division it is now, but at least half of them are below 500. The NFC East, all of them are below 500.
Yeah.
That's how.
That division you're talking about, that division is actually the AFC West, where the Chiefs are at. So Kansas City's 5-1. The Raiders are 3-2. One of those victories is against the Chiefs. But then Denver's 2-3, and the Chargers are 1-4. I've only watched Denver once this year, and it was on Monday night versus the Steelers. It wasn't versus the Steelers, but they played on a Monday night, and it was horrible. Did you watch that Monday night? Oh no, I threw that right to you. Are you gonna get it? Get him, big boy. Ah.
Big boy guy.
Well, that's definitely, we're already in the second half. We're under 6 minutes to go in the second quarter, so we are moseying along. So the state of the NFL this year is very weird. So I know you said you don't watch a little NFL football, but if you could pick like a team or two, who do you kind of like that you've seen this year for going over into like even now in the future?
So, to preface this, I am not a Tom Brady fan, but I am liking Tampa Bay right now. I think they're going to have a deep run into the playoffs.
Okay. Very cool. What do you think you've seen out of Tampa this year that kind of gives you that feel?
They have kind of a soft schedule.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really like Tom Brady, but it is Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He's gonna happen, and I mean, I think he's got some weapons down there to utilize.
He definitely has done. He definitely has done a lot of stuff. He's got a lot of weapons that you can have, and it looks like they're clicking, right? It's no longer the earlier season to where it didn't look like they were doing anything. They're clicking along and they're making some moves, so that's working. We talked before last night. Someone that you like for the future is the Cincinnati Bengals. What do you like about the Bengals and Joe Burrow and what they have?
I think he really brings something to the team that they just haven't had. Just a spark that really going to push them into performing a little bit better.
I agree. I watched a little bit of NFL films and they mic'd him up and they were listening to him talk, and he's very competitive. But not unlike, I remember back to like the Matthew Stafford. He kind of reminds me of when Matthew Stafford first came out of college. Big arm. And quarterbacks are all kind of a different breed of people, but kind of just an arrogant kind of dude who's kind of competitive. We all remember when Stafford went out with his dislocated shoulder to help them beat Cleveland. Dang. That was nice. So remember when Stafford did that and helped them beat Cleveland, and they were, you know, kind of struggling, but Joe Burrow has a fight to him. Now I will say they need to get him an offensive line because he's getting hit way too much. And he has no time to throw the ball. That LSU team he was on was stacked, wouldn't you say so?
Oh, absolutely.
That thing was nasty. So for this year, besides Tampa Bay, is there a team in the AFC that you like that you think is going to be really sort of crazy out for this year?
You have to remind me who's on the AFC.
You got like Pittsburgh was someone that we talked about. The Chiefs, right?
I think it's going to be real telling. The result from this game this week, if it's going to be Pittsburgh or Tennessee, because they're both 5-0 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think they both have the potential to do really well. But like I said earlier, they just don't have quality wins. I mean, you beat up on the NFC East, and that's it. So this is going to be their first real test, I think, this season.
Yeah. I will agree with that. I think this weekend will be really good. I think it'll be good. I think, Steven, as we're playing this, it reminds me of we just had a really good time when we were in college. My favorite NFL thing we ever did is that you and I we're just not fantasy football guys. Like, I don't know about you. That's not my thing. I've tried it. I lose. I think to me, fantasy football is all about the draft. You don't play fantasy football, do you?
I used to a little bit, but honestly, it's just too much for me. There's too much that goes into it.
Yeah. But we used to have a Pick'em League back in the day. And I remember you hosted a Pick'em League, and that was just a blast. And,
I can't believe you caught that.
I know, right? I can't believe I caught that either. I like picking sports. I like picking games because, it's the same thing. You can sit down with your friends. You can, like, have a drink. You can watch the game, talk a little smack. Right, you can go from there, and you can just sort of hang out. So we're going to do some picks later as we hang out in the show. A lot of people are taking shots at Steven for being a Cowboys fan playing as the Steelers in the comments, which I think is really funny.
I know it.
And there's, we do want to say, in the typical Georgia sports fan world, it got called out that the Falcons are only a one-win team. Oh, you got to catch that. The Falcons are only a one-win team. Someone said Falcons are 0-5, and they jumped in there and said, no. Falcons are 1-5. So we in Atlanta, we're horrible, but we have to respect it at some point. I cannot make a pass go in to save my life. So, NFL. Go ahead.
Put in about the picking thing. I think it over fantasy, it creates more of an investment in the game for me. Because you pick one or the other. Oh, get down! Oh.
I didn't even think I was gonna. Oh, I should have taken off.
When you pick one or the other, like teams, like you're invested in that team. You watch every play. You're all in on that team. With fantasy, you got one player from this team, one player from that team, and you really don't care if the team wins or loses. You just I want him to get 2 touchdowns.
Right. Right. I totally get with that. I went on a trip to Reno once, and my friends were there, and they said like, hey, they're like, Rutledge. So we played some games, and we played some backgammon and some other stuff, and did this and did that and some blackjack, and I was like, all right, I feel like I'm losing money. And then we woke up one day, it was like a Saturday, and they're like, hey, Rutledge, come with us. I'm like, what are we doing? It's like, we're gonna go to like where you bet on sports. And it was just Pick'em League, picking lines, and you sat there in this massive room, and they're like, pick any game you want, put any money down. I put like $10 on Georgia Southern and like won like 15. And it was just the most glorious thing. I realized very slowly, like, sports betting is addictive because Pick'em Leagues are so fun because you're right, it just puts the weight on it. And you sit there and you're like, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and this is the money I'm going to kind of spend. So,
yeah,
huge.
It can definitely get dangerous.
It can get dangerous. You ever done any sports betting?
I have not, because I feel like I wouldn't be able to quit.
It's, oh man, it's super aggressive. I will say the one, because you go and you can play what's called a parlay, which is where you'll pick like 3 games or 4 games. You'll be like, all right, I'm going to pick these games, and if I win all of them, this is what my winnings are going to be. So it'll be like, these are your odds in getting 3 games right, and your games will sort of grow. And as that goes, I was sitting there, and I was putting my parlay, and I put my bet on Georgia Southern, and this was when Purdue played Ohio State and upset Ohio State. And I sat there and I went, you know what? Some part of me before we went out, before that game started, said, brother, just put $10 on Purdue and see what happens. Just like, put it down. Just put $10 on Purdue.
Is that when they beat Ohio State?
Yeah, that was when they beat Ohio State. So I sat out, we were out, and we were at like an event, and we were doing some stuff. And then we sat there and I looked around and the score hit. Ohio State beat Purdue. And the payoff was like huge for Purdue to take it. And I was pissed. I was like, I could have basically paid my whole trip by taking this bet. So sports betting is fun, but that's my, some people regret they thought those were the droids they were looking for. I regret that that's the bet I should have placed. It could have changed my whole life. But it just didn't happen. But
Oh no.
oh, you got stuff. Brought the blitz. I want to give a shout out to everyone watching us on Twitch. We have 7 viewers and they've left a ton of comments. Appreciate that. I keep getting called out on my slant plays that I like to use, and I will say no. The slant is flawless. The slant always works. So stop hating on my slant. I mean, it works with other teams, not with the Titans against the Steelers in man coverage, but the slant is just like flawless. That's how I get in Madden franchise for Tyler Lockett has like almost 200-yard games running the slant. Speaking of that, Steve, we're in a Madden franchise together. We gotta restart that thing. We took a break.
Oh yeah.
The one thing I don't miss about our Madden franchise is everyone's just getting hurt all the time. I have like 3 starters out. Do you have any injuries in yours?
I think Zeke's still out on mine.
Ugh.
He's been out for 6 weeks. I think a rib or something.
I have Chris
Carter.
I have Chris. I have right. I have Chris Carson is out. I have other people are out. By the way, for the person asking where is the subscribe button on Twitch, you follow. On YouTube, you can go and you can click. See our channel is right there, and you can find our YouTube channel and subscribe as well. Follow us on Twitch. Subscribe on YouTube. Look at the slant, and he catches it. And we have like a huge game. And we go to the second half. All right, Steven. So we bantered, we baxed. It's great to have you on the show. We talked. Now we're going to talk about, so we do our halftime hot takes. And if there's anything legendary about our friendship that I remember, it's we went to a Falcons-Steelers game, or Falcons-Titans game in Atlanta. We had a good time. So if you could, we're going to get into kickoff here, and then we'll finish up in the pause menu. If you could go to any football experience, what would you go see? Who would it be at home, and who would they be playing?
I'm going to go with the obvious answer here. I want to see Dallas and Jerry's World, the Big D. And I would kind of like to see him play 49ers. That's another team kind of close to my heart.
Okay. Very cool. That'd be really cool. Jerry's World, I remember, opened up when we were in college, and that place seems legit.
Oh, yeah.
For me, I want to go to CenturyLink Field. I haven't seen my Seahawks in person in a while, but as I go and see there, I want to see them play the New England Patriots and beat the Patriots in front of me. There's just still something about the way we lost the Super Bowl with the pick on the 1-yard line after Jermaine Kearse had like the greatest reception of all time. We want to go and we want to like change the game, and I just want to see it. I know they beat them this year and Cam Newton lost, but I want to be there in person, because when you can GIF the way that I watched the Super Bowl slip out of my hands, I just need to see it happen. I need the closure. It still hurts to talk about.
So I actually think, going modern day Dallas versus San Francisco would still be fun, but I would love to go back and see like those great 90s teams. Go back to Candlestick and see Deion Sanders, Emmitt Smith, and Steve Young,
right?
Slinging the ball around out there. That would be amazing. Like I wish I was born like 15, 20 years earlier, so I could have gone and hung out and done that.
I could see you doing that, wearing the starter jacket, doing all that type of stuff. All right, well, let's jump back in. Let's get into it. I'm gonna resume. You resume. I also want to say hey to our consistent viewer, Daniel J. Mogg, who we know is a size medium and needs him some merch out there. Thanks for coming in, checking us out again tonight. We appreciate seeing you there. Appreciate seeing you drop in. But so now we're gonna go and we're gonna spend the second half tonight talking about our favorite sport of all time and the sport that really bonded Steven and I, and the thing that we emptied many a frothy beer over, and that is college football. Steven, how much do you love college football?
I don't think you can like put a number on it. Like there's just something to college football. Like if I could probably marry it, I might divorce my wife. No, I'm just kidding.
She's in the same room, isn't she? She just heard you.
No.
Oh, good. All right. Steven's fine.
Oh, who's the one and only talking about Case Race? I am the undefeated Case Race champion, by the way.
I see that. There's definitely been, we've had many a old Georgia Southern story where we've done many a old crazy Georgia Southern thing, and Steven has been too pro at many of those things. Don't throw a pick again. Look at that. Yeep. By the way, Delaney Walker on that play didn't get the ball. The play was designed for him, but he ran his entire 35-year-old life. As we're playing, I kind of want to remember and think back to the first time we ever played a football game together. So we were freshmen at Georgia Southern. I was living in a dorm, Johnson Hall. I had a room to myself. I had a TV. I think I had a GameCube with NCAA 2004 on it. And I told you, I don't know if you remember the story, and I told you, I was like, hey, let's like play this game. And you're like, Religion, don't play sports games. I'm like, no, it'll be fun. Like, let's play it. I'll teach you. And I was like, I'll be like kind of a bad team, and you be a really good team. And I don't remember who I was, but I remember I picked you, I put you on like Ohio State. And I was like, all right, you be them, and I'm going to be, and I don't remember who I was. And at first I was like, all right, this is going to be fine. I'm going to play this game with my friend. Maybe I'll win. And like I was losing as the time we got into the half. And I was like, you know what? I think we need to go somewhere. I'm hungry. Do you want food? And I think I just rage quit in the middle of it.
I think I remember that, yeah.
And Steven has been kind of beating me at football games ever since. So I'm not surprised I'm losing tonight as I get sacked on a screen.
User sack, by the way.
User sack. As we're throwing it out there, our friends Rayaj and Manny are watching, and they are blowing up the comments and being crazy wild people, and we love them for it. So thank you for coming out, guys. We appreciate it. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
So, college football. Another thing that's picking up this week, Steven, is the Big Ten is back.
Big deal.
The big deal. What do you think about everything that kind of happened with the Big Ten this year?
I mean, good on them for trying to play it safe. But at the same time, they kind of waited and let everyone else fall on the sword, and now they want to be like, oh, I can play too.
Right.
Sure. But the fact that there's so many of them ranked. Why are so many of them ranked?
Yeah, do you have it up, or do you want me to go through the ranked teams in the Big Ten?
Hang on. I did have it up. Let me go back to it.
I have it in front of me.
Okay, go ahead.
So the Big Ten ranked teams, we have Ohio State is number 5. You have Penn State is number 8. Wisconsin is number 14. Michigan is number 18. And Minnesota is number 21. So that is a total of 5 teams from a conference that hasn't played as we're this deep in. Like, should that even have happened?
No, in my opinion, no. I mean, you can't refute that some of them are good teams. Like Ohio State and Michigan, yeah, you can pretty much go ahead and rank them every year. But the fact that you've had people play in, 4, 5, 6 games, and some of them are, 4-0, 5-0, and Ohio State hasn't even played a snap, you can't say that they're better than that 5-0 team, 4-0 team.
All right. No, it's just strange. I know you say Michigan could be ranked. I am frustrated with the Michigan ranking. I pulled some stats from last night, and you actually told me this yesterday. Michigan was ranked all of 2019.
Yeah, they were ranked every year. I think their lowest rank was 20th.
Yeah, and then they went up. Well, you told me they went up from 20th to 19 because they beat Rutgers.
Yep.
Which the only reason Rutgers is in the Big Ten is because they want to expand to the New York TV market and try to get some more TV money. Michigan just has this bad habit of people think, and we all kind of are holding on to this weird Jim Harbaugh took San Francisco to the 49ers once, or to the playoffs once, and the Super Bowl, even though that team gave up on him and they were atrocious when he left. Everyone thinks that because he did that and he made Stanford good, but Stanford had Andrew Luck, that all of a sudden he's a good coach and he produces good teams. And I don't care if he climbs trees and eats like Powerade Cheerios in front of players. I think it's ridiculous how they're overrated. But
Yeah.
yeah, but that is kind of the classic of college football. We love to rest on those name brands. College football is like a mall. I just don't know who's the Gap, but they're always there.
Right.
So
Who would be like the Spencers or yeah, the weird store?
who would be the Oregon? Oregon is the Spencers of college football. Hey, we got some weird neon in the back. But look at all this really cool chrome that we have. By the way, this is really comfortable when you're sweaty. Oh, that does sound like something you would find at Spencer's.
Oh wow, yeah.
Okay, so but we have all conferences are back. Everyone's happening. So what would you have done if you were creating the ranking system for college football? What would you do this year in place of just putting the Big Ten where you put them?
What is it called?
A run play that worked.
You know, I can't say much different because for the most part, I like the rankings. I just don't think the Big Ten should be as high as they are without playing.
Right. I think I have a Penn State fan I work with, and they gave a really good take. They said, you know what? They said, we're number 8, and I think we have a good team this year, but I shouldn't be number 8. They said, it's unfair. We haven't played. We don't know how good we are. She had a great take of, since there's 5 of them, you rank them 20 to 25 down, and then you let them ascend up through the AP poll as they sort of get better. But then it's a double-edged sword on the committee, because if you were to do that, that means you're going to rank like Louisiana or UCF or Oklahoma State, or you're going to rank all these kind of, or North Carolina with 1 loss, all these kind of okay teams that are kind of doing well above Big Ten teams. So I get it from the committee standpoint. It's rough to stare at. So it'll be good to see this week comes around, that this week sort of fixes itself. So the 2 top teams that are the ones to watch are Bama and Clemson. What do you think of Bama and Clemson?
So far, I mean, they're pretty much what we expected them to be. 2 really dominant teams. You look at Clemson's game against Georgia Tech and last week, and that was the epitome of dominant.
They beat them upwards, downwards, and sideways.
I think it was the final score was 73 to 7, something like that.
Yeah, 73 to 7. And at one point it was a 7 to 7 game, and then Clemson just sort of ran off the rails there. Now Georgia Tech, of course.
Yeah, we have to play.
Yeah, they ripped them to pieces. It reminded me of, do you know what the greatest college football score ever was?
Talking about the Georgia Tech Cumberland game.
Yeah, 222 to 0. When I saw that score, it was just that exact same kind of just beat down. But then Georgia and Bama, they kind of played each other close, and then Bama sort of finished. So do you put that more of it that Bama's good, or that Georgia is still having its same struggles of all time?
It's Georgia, just same old Georgia.
Yeah, I'm not a Georgia fan, but it's always been just wild to see how the University of Georgia is well respected. They have a lot of people. They get a lot of good recruits. I mean, you can name multiple different football players. that have gone through there.
Let's see if I can change my settings.
Sure. But the University of Georgia will come through, and they'll always have really good recruits. I mean, Mark Richt got fired from the University of Georgia for being a 10-win coach. And if you think about that.
Any better, chat?
You can't. It sounds way louder. That's way better, buddy.
Awesome.
That's way better.
My settings didn't save last time when I did.
Oh no. Oh no.
Way to go for telling me, Rutledge.
Oh man. Well, you know, I guess I was just so excited to play a 7-3 Madden game on a Thursday night that I just couldn't hold myself back.
What a second and goal.
But yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing with Georgia. So it's just
right,
kind of.
And that goes back to the whole Georgia sports thing. Is we can't finish anything.
No.
I was looking it up earlier. Like Georgia routinely chokes just as bad as the Falcons. Like they blew a 13-0 lead to Alabama in the CFP playoffs, the championship game in 2017. Like Georgia cannot finish a big game, and that's been their thing for years with Mark Richt, now with Kirby Smart. Like they just can't get up for the big game.
No. Do you think that Kirby Smart is a good coach, or do you think he's still kind of sitting on Mark Richt's success this far into his tenure?
I think he's a good enough coach to be successful. I don't know. It's Georgia, man.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think we're really looking sort of the test of time is that Kirby Smart. You know, he was Alabama defenses when he were just these nasty monsters that you couldn't get through, and that's how Nick Saban won his championships. But I really think Kirby Smart was given a good program to take over. Because Georgia's only kind of struggle, I mean, Georgia Southern almost beat them during Mark Year's last year, which was glorious. We went into, double overtime that year?
I think it was double overtime, and that was pretty much the nail in his coffin. He didn't last there much longer.
No, and when he went to Miami, he couldn't really get things going, and then he retired. But I think Kirby Smart was able to just take something that was successful, that had good recruiting track. UGA is a really cool place to be. Sanford Stadium's a really good college football environment to play in. So there's just all the good facilities and money behind it that can support you being there. But it just seems like they just don't have. They just don't have it together. I don't know why. And
somebody was saying earlier today, I was talking to them about the Georgia issue, and they were saying it's a discipline issue.
Okay.
And he said the teams aren't disciplined enough, and he said that's evident by like the water bottle squirting incident on the sideline.
Yeah.
2 games ago. He's like, if the team was disciplined enough and actually performed like they should, then they would be unstoppable. I couldn't really refute that. I mean, that's a pretty good take in my opinion.
Yeah, they just seem to sort of lack where they need it. But they have the fan base following, they get the money, they get everything they need. We're not working here. This is a long day here in Nashville, Tennessee, if you're watching this game in the stands as a person. This is a long day. We are at 3rd and 27 again. I think I've been sacked like every drive. I know what that means. Time to dial up old reliable. See what happens. Or you're going to get a safety. One of the two. 3rd and 27. I don't think we've gotten past the 50. Oh,
almost.
He almost killed that guy. Like he almost died.
Well, that was pretty close.
Okay, so we talked college football. We have definitely said the good teams, the bad teams. You know who I've been surprised has been down for so long and had some struggles is USC. Ever since Pete Carroll left Southern California, they have not gotten back to being any good. I mean, they've been okay.
Yeah. I don't even hear about them hardly much anymore.
Not as much. They're not the relevant. Everyone sort of turned attention to Oregon. and that has become the new hub, which I remember back in 2008, the Oregon State game, which is called the Civil War. That was just the game that people were like, ESPN was beaten on, like, nope, like this is a, they weren't calling it garbage, but it was not seen as it was going to be a good game. And that was when Chip Kelly was like first starting to put his systems in place.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, with a non-existent Pac-12, with a Big Ten that is, you know, now going to debut, where do you put your top 4? Who are your top 4 teams going into this week? So, keep in mind, your number 4 will receive the FriendStream Sport patented Kiss of Death as we go here into the 2-minute warning.
I hope they do. Number 1, I've got Clemson. After such a dominant performance at Georgia Tech, there's no place you could put them other than number 1. Number 2, Alabama. Obviously, they just had a great game against. Oh no! Go! Great game against the number 3 team, Georgia. Number 4, as much as I'm not confident on, or number 3, I'm not confident about this choice. I'm going to go with Notre Dame. I don't think they're as good as everybody says they are. And I think the conference actually being in the ACC conference this year is gonna be different for them. And then number 4, Kiss of Death, goes to Georgia. I hope they lose again.
Okay. So I know when we did post-production, you went back and forth on who you wanted your teams to be. Tell me why you're leaving Georgia. Tell everyone out there why you're leaving Georgia at number 4.
So honestly, they're not awful, but I just don't see any team really being better than them. Like, I don't think they're worse than any other team close. Because after Georgia, other than Ohio State, which I don't count because I don't want Big Ten ranked, there was Oklahoma State and
Penn State's number 8.
Penn State. And I just can't put those above Georgia. Yeah, they lost to Alabama, but they were leading at halftime. So I don't know. I'd like to put them lower, but I just can't in good faith do it.
There you go. Stick by your takes. Go up and get it.
Oh, he got that, didn't he?
Got that. Oh, it's a ball game now, buddy. We are threatening. We are 1 minute to go. We're on the 24-yard line. We are making some moves here. We have to score. Okay, so that's your top 4. So my top 4, I'm actually going to keep Bama at number 1. By the way, to all of our friends that are hanging out with us tonight, we would love your top 4 college football teams.
Yeah, put those in the comments.
Put them in the comments. We want to get them. I'm going to put Bama at 1. Come on. Bama 1. Steve Sarkisian is just doing some offensive magic at the University of Alabama. He's taken what Nick Saban did forever, which is like Mark Henry and run the ball, and A.J. McCarron is like the field general, and all that type of stuff we were used to seeing in Greg McElroy, and he has changed it. And it has been, it's been just so cool to watch. I have been so impressed that he's taken a program that was a ground and pound run game thing and just said, nope, this is going to be different. Oh man, we're going to have to call a timeout here. This is coming down to the wire. So I'm going to put Bama at 1. My number 2 team that I have is I'm going to put Clemson at number 2. And here's why. I know they beat Georgia Tech 7. I know they beat Georgia Tech 1 billion to 1 billion. And like 73-7, and that's fine. But the big deal to me is that they still haven't shown that they've really played anybody, and they still haven't, like, they've beaten everyone in their path, but what are you going to do in the playoff? Are you going to be like last year? That's a pick. Nope. Are you going to be like last year to where you sat there and you got in the championship game after you were all big and bad, and it just didn't happen? So I'm leaving them there. Number 3, I have Notre Dame. Notre Dame plays Clemson soon. They also play North Carolina, which is no sleeper team in the AFC. So I think Notre Dame is also going to be someone to watch. Outside of Clemson, go. Yes. Outside of Clemson and Notre Dame, my kiss of death, number 4 team. I'm going to take a page out of Connor's book a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to go Oklahoma State. Okay. The reason I say Oklahoma State is if you were to look at the world right now, and you were to look at the way, oh no.
Yes.
Wow. I can't believe that just happened. Everything rushed through my brain and I snapped under the pressure. Yeah, I would throw the play sheet down too. If you were to look at the world of Oklahoma, if Ohio State wasn't ranked number 6, Oklahoma State would be ranked number 5. And Georgia would have fallen farther and they would have gone to number 4. The Big 12 needs someone in the playoffs. They need someone there, so we'll see what happens. They don't have the best schedule to carry them, but they just need to run the table.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I'd love to see Oklahoma State make it into the playoff. I think that'd be a good team in there.
Oof, that's I got distracted. Down in the comments said go for 2. I was sitting there regretting my decision. But that's what makes French Stream Sports classic, is when you miss the kick. So we're notorious for that. I just didn't think it was going to happen to me. So as we close, Steven, we have some rivalry games because you and I love some good rivalry games. We're going to go through these. We have North Carolina State versus North Carolina. North Carolina is a 15.5-point favorite. Who are you taking?
UNC. They looked really good all season.
I agree. UNC, Mac Brown has turned that thing around. They are really making it move. Next, we have Les Miles and his Kansas Jayhawks versus the Kansas State Wildcats. Kansas State is favored 20 points. Who are you taking?
Kansas State. That's a pretty easy one. Kansas is just an awful team. Just awful.
They are bad. I remember I watched the clip of that ESPN special Les Miles had in Kansas, and he had like an offensive lineman throwing up within the first one lap of practice. So they need some folks. Last we have I believe this is a rivalry game, but it's Michigan versus Minnesota. Who are you taking? Michigan's a 3-point favorite.
Row the boat. Row the boat. I'm going with Minnesota.
I agree, row the boat. I watched them play Penn State last year, and they looked really good. Not like the Minnesota where they were really bad. They actually look like a football team, so I think PJ Fleck is starting to put it together, and I think they have a shot.
Yeah, I think PJ has had it together for a few years now. I think this is his 3rd or 4th year.
Yep.
He's got the ship turned around. It's righted. Now he just needs to sail into port and get that Big Ten championship.
All right, everyone. Well, everyone out there, thank you for checking us out all night long on Twitch. You can find us here every Thursday at 8 o'clock. You can find this episode and much more content posted on YouTube on French Stream Sports. And we also have a podcast where we take our show and put it out there so you can listen to it on the go. Steven, thank you for coming out. I'm really glad you were here. Yeah, you can hold your head high that you are undefeated on Friends Stream Sports because the kick got you. That would have been a win.
Rodrigo Blankenship.
Yeah, hot rod, cooled down.
All right, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me. It was good talking with everybody. I enjoyed it, and I hope to be back.
All right, so for Friends Stream Sports, I'm Rutledge.
And I'm Steven.
Have a good night. Thanks, everybody.